This is Jack. After saving up for months, he finally booked his dream vacation to Paris. He checks into the hotel, changes his dollars into euros, and decides to take a walk in the city. On one of Paris's busy streets, he notices a bunch of people gathering around what looks like a street performer. As he approaches the group, he realizes they're playing a familiar game. People are placing bets. Some are losing, but many more are winning. He bets 50 euros and chooses the cup in the middle. He loses. He bets another 50, carefully watches the performer's moves, and selects the cup on the left. He loses again. This continued for 10 minutes until Jack lost all his freshly changed euros. But Jack wasn't the only loser that day. Thousands of people around the world get robbed at this game every single day. What makes this old simple game almost impossible to win? How do these gangs get away with it, and what should you do to beat them? In this video, we take on one of the most common scams on Earth. We dive into the ins and outs of the ball and cup game, also known as the shell game. Before this game invaded today's major cities, it was actually invented in ancient Greece, when it was pretty common in peasants' social circles. It can also be seen in several paintings of the European Middle Ages. At the time, walnut shells were used to cover the hidden object. The game became very popular throughout the 19th century. It was referred to as the thimble rig, and games were often set up in or around traveling fairs. A thimble rig team is made of an operator and accomplices. The swindle is not a new thing. It's been going on for hundreds of years. Fear of jail and the need to find new victims kept these operators traveling from one town to the next, never staying in one place very long. One of the most infamous confidence men of the 19th century was Jefferson Randolph Smith, known as Soapy Smith, who led organized gangs of shellmen throughout the Midwestern United States and later in Alaska. In the 20th century, the game was kept exclusive to underground parties and random street corners. It was starting to die off and get forgotten, until randomly, various TV game shows brought it back. When the shell game inspired a pricing game on the game show The Price is Right, in which contestants attempt to win a larger prize by pricing smaller prizes to earn attempts at finding a ball hidden under one of 4 shells designed to resemble walnut shells. This allowed the game to resurface again. In the late 2000s, the shell game went mainstream. With the explosion of online mobile games, scammers noticed a gap in the market. Soon enough, they integrated many of the old games into their business model. But of course, there's a catch. Everything will be rigged, including our beloved ball and cup game. Now, enough history for today. Let's break down how they steal your money. Imagine 3 cups, or shells, placed on a table. Under one of these cups lies a small object, maybe a pea or a coin. The con artist, let's call him Slick, shuffles the cups around rapidly, making it nearly impossible to track the object's location. He'll then ask you to pick a cup, and if you choose the right one, you win. Sounds easy, right? Well, wrong. The trick lies in the sleight of hand and misdirection that Slick employs. He's not just randomly shuffling the cups. He's using a series of practice moves to manipulate your perception. Think of it like a magician's act. Slick might use a false transfer, making it appear as though the object is moving from one cup to another, but in reality, it stays in the same spot. He might also use palming, concealing the object in his hand while the cups are being moved. The key is to keep your eyes on the cups the entire time, but Slick uses various techniques to distract you. He might talk incessantly, throwing out red herrings, or use a fast shuffle to blur your vision. The goal is to make you think you're making a conscious decision, but in reality, Slick has already predetermined the outcome. You're being led to choose the wrong cup, and he's always one step ahead. Unlike popular opinion, the board or piece of tissue under the cups has nothing to do with the trick. It's simply there to facilitate the movement of the cups or shells that are also not altered or manipulated. The whole scam relies on the sleight of hand of the scammer. The same trick can also be done with cards, also known as the 3-card Monty. The scammer would take 3 cards, mark one of them, and place them side by side on a board or any horizontal surface. The dealer will pick up one of the cards with one hand and 2 with the other. This is the key. Although it appears that the dealer is tossing the lowermost card to the table, in reality, they can toss either the top or the bottom card at will. While mixing up the cards, the mark or victim will be following the wrong card from the beginning. The move, done properly, is undetectable. But even with all this trickery going on in the game, I'm sure you're wondering, what are your chances? If you ever see a group of people surrounding the scammer, placing bets and winning big, don't get too excited. Scammers don't scam alone. All of those participating are in the scam. Their job is to give people walking by an illusion and a false hope of winning like them. But if you still fall for it and decide to place a bid, there are two things you must do in that case. First, play small. Don't place big bids. This will trigger the scammer to let you win the first 1 or 2 rounds to keep you for longer. Oh, I also forgot to mention, you have no chance of winning. If you win, it means the dealer allowed you to win. So don't get hyped and think you're a genius. Simply take that quick small win and leave. Second, don't play on your own. At the end of the day, these are street gangs, and most likely, they will try to intimidate you and even rob you out of your winnings. Just like a regular casino, the scammers aim to keep you playing as long as they can. This means they must keep you believing that it's possible. This is when the bent corner variation technique comes into play. The bent corner ploy is one of the classic scams in 3-card Monte. It's used if the mob thinks a mark can be had for more money or needs more convincing to put some money down. When tossing the cards, the dealer accidentally drops the cards, resulting in a corner of the money card having a slight bend in it. The dealer pretends not to notice. Assuming the mark bets on the card with the bent corner, the dealer will tell the mark to turn it over, so there can be no accusations of card switching, revealing that it is not the money card after all, but one of the loser cards. That's because when tossing the cards, the dealer unbent the money card and bent the loser one. In this variation, the player will be even more reluctant to complain, as doing so would reveal that he intended to cheat the dealer. As people start to notice these techniques more and more, gangs continue to innovate and come up with more sophisticated tricks. But how are these gangs able to continue to scam people in broad daylight? Prague, Paris, Berlin, London, these scammers do not operate individually. These are crime organizations flooding European streets. One would wonder, why are these scammers still prowling the streets and not behind bars? And why is the police so neutral? Common sense would push us to believe that police are getting a cut for leaving the gangs alone. Well, such assumptions couldn't be excluded, as there were cases of police corruption in multiple countries in this regard. However, the issue is much deeper than that. After multiple terrorist attacks, many European governments shifted their focus to counter terrorism. The result is increased mobilization of personnel, and several brigades became understaffed. The situation in many European countries is almost hopeless. You arrest a few gang members today, another group pops up the next day. As long as these governments have other priorities in place, the shell game swindle isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.